So today I'm going to tell you another point I learned in the marriage workshop that I was telling you about yesterday. Another very interesting point is that you can determine the outcome of an argument in the first few minutes. And how do you determine it? You determine it by how the argument started. So if it started with one person accusing the other, criticizing, blaming, taking a superior position, standing on a pedestal, putting the other person down, it's guaranteed the argument is going to end in a difficult, toxic, dysfunctional way, if it even ends. Whereas if you start the argument in a more understanding way, or at least in a way in which you're not accusing the other person of being a bad person, or being wrong, or being stupid, or being clumsy, or dirty, or whatever it is that you're concerned about, if you present your angle of vision from your own personal need, in other words, I need a cleaner house, or I need you to be on time so that I can know when to start dinner or when to go shopping. When you come back at various times, it makes it difficult for me. So you're not blaming him, you're just saying it makes it difficult for me. When you begin a conversation where you're explaining why you need another person to do something because of your own need, rather than faulting them, putting them down, making them feel bad, then the chances of the conversation going well are pretty much guaranteed, virtually 100%. And so this is something to notice. Now, in your speech and in your dealing with your spouse, when you have a concern, do you tend to put them down, or do you tend to explain your concern more from your personal point of view? This is what I need. Could you do this? Could you put the lights out at this time? Instead of saying, you are this, that, and the next thing because you go to bed late. You're unregulated, you're lazy, you're not Krishna conscious because you go to bed late. Instead of doing something like that, we say, I need to get up early, and if I go to bed late, I can't get up early. And would it be possible that if you're going to bed late, you go in the other room, or you come in quietly? You could say, you're inconsiderate. You always wake me up. What's wrong with you? You don't care about me. You could say so many things. Now, so what we find is that when you start an argument or a discussion with an attack, the natural mechanism for most humans who have not transcended their human nature is to defend themselves. And we all defend ourselves in different ways. We all have different fighting mechanisms. So one way you may defend yourself is just to speak up and say, you do the same thing, or well, you do this, or you do that. That's called the dirty dishes. Someone makes a point about you, and then you go into the sink and pull out all the dirty dishes. Well, you do this, you do that, you do this. So that's getting nowhere. It's not resolving the problem that the lights have to go out earlier. Or your defensive mechanism is you don't say anything, or your defensive mechanism is you just become sad. Why is this person criticizing me? You start crying, or you just become very depressed. So if we're being attacked, generally we're going to defend ourselves, and the conversation gets nowhere. Now, what I found so interesting about this is that we all come to Krishna consciousness with certain nature, certain background, certain habits, and so forth. And I can speak for myself, at least, that I see how these habits, they carry over in my dealings. Now, do they get better as I become more Krishna conscious? Hopefully they get better, but sometimes not that much better, because I'm just not aware, or I think I have a right to be critical because I'm older, I'm in a superior position. And so what we find, even as devotees, we may have methods of communicating that are not fruitful, that are not producing the results we want, that are actually damaging relationships. And so it may be necessary to learn better ways of communicating. We could call it sattvik ways of communicating, because this attack is a very rajasic way of communicating. And so let us remember this simple principle. How you start a conversation is going to predict the result. If you start with an attack, it's going to be a bad conversation. It's not going to get resolved. And there's probably going to be a fight, or someone's just going to shut down. And if you begin in a positive way, oh, thank you for doing this. I appreciate so much how you do this and that. And I just have one request. I need to go to bed earlier, and would it be okay if I can turn the light out, or you would turn, or not when you come in, don't turn the light on, etc., etc. Rather than you have no consideration, you come in, you turn the light off, what's wrong with you, etc. And then I can go into all kinds of, you don't love me, you don't care about me, and all the dirty dishes in the sink, and yeah. So what was so funny for me attending this workshop, or maybe interesting is a better word, is that I saw so many tendencies that we as devotees have in marital relationships that everyone is dealing with. Devotees, non-devotees, so-called religious people, everyone's dealing with these dynamics in relationships, and everybody tends to react in the same way. And I said, this is really interesting, that as devotees, we may have to, in certain areas of our life, practice more sattvik, more conscious ways of dealing with one another, because we just don't know how to do it. And even though we're becoming Krishna conscious, still, it doesn't always overflow into every aspect of our life.